Hello, everybody, and welcome. Today, I'm going to go over what's expected of you in the demonstration of understanding for the Gaining a Skill Set playlist. Now, this is one video in a series, so feel free. It's to provide you with a review of assignment expectations, or if you might need some help along the way. Now, let's go ahead and get started. So for the demonstration of understanding, it's composed of three main ideas. So remember, as part of this section, you were trying to get three skill sets. Skill set one, you were learning about biodiversity and the application on our understanding of species. Two, you looked at topographic and geologic maps to figure out how to read them and apply them. Third step was finding scientific literature, and you're going to apply all three of these skill sets as you create your demonstration of understanding. Now, what you're going to do is first make a choice on a location. This is going to be referred to as your mock study site. And it can be anywhere. It might be a park that's within walking distance of where you live. It might be a courtyard or community area, any location that is close to you that you can relatively easily access. Now, in terms of that actual location, the bigger it is, the better, but I also understand depending on where you are and what is available. So feel free to choose if you want to run something by me, feel free to. Now, the first step in this is we're going to analyze that mock study site. Then you're going to find some scientific literature related to what you've analyzed as part of that mock study site. And then you're going to propose a design of study of something that you can research at your study site. So the first part we're going to go over is the mock study site. And when you get finished, this is what it's going to look like. It's going to give you some goals to reach for as we complete it. Now, in terms of analyzing your mock study site, it comes in several forms. And you're going to investigate several avenues associated with your study site. Now, as you're going through this presentation, you also have this PDF available of this as well, of each of the descriptors required. I'm going to go through each of them individually in this video, but feel free to skip around because you might know exactly what I mean, but it's also to provide clarification. So in terms of the study site, you'll see each of the headers are different things that you need to investigate. The first thing you're going to look into is location, meaning where is it in Austin, Texas? Always remember to include Austin, Texas, because we want to show that it's not just Austin somewhere else. It's actually located in Texas, common mistake. Give a general location. So is it in Southeast Austin, Texas, North Austin, Texas, to provide some understanding of where the location is. The second thing that you're going to do is to provide a more in-depth understanding of where it is. And this is to provide some key points that an outside audience might be able to recognize. So you want to use well-known landmarks that are associated with the city of Austin that would help some outsider understand, okay, well, it's relatively over here, or it's relatively in the center of the city or not. So that might be the Texas Capitol, the state Capitol building. That might be the University of Texas. It might be the bell tower of the University of Texas. It might be downtown associated. Any of those items that are available to you. And then you're going to calculate that distance using Google Maps. And at any point in this time, which I'm going to talk about in the next, there is a mapping page located in the resources module that describes how you can use Google Maps to figure out this information. The second piece you're going to figure out is the size. Now, in order to do this, you're going to have to measure it using the steps that are provided on the mapping page. It tells you exactly how to do it using Google Maps, and then it'll give you the answer in meters squared. And all you have to do is convert that to hectares, which is relatively a simple conversion for you. I do want to ensure that while you're doing the size, make sure to take a screenshot of your work so that you can attach that at the end of the assignment. Topography. Now, there are a few ways for you to analyze the topography. The site that I'm going to recommend is TopoZone, which you can kind of just Google Austin, Texas, and it'll pull up a relatively easy map to follow. If you need help with it, of course, reach out and I'm happy to. But I want you to provide first an overview of what the actual general topography is. So is it a relatively flat, relatively hilly? It's a drastic change in elevation or a dramatic change in elevation. First step. The second is I want you to provide actual measurements. So use the TopoZone topographic maps to provide a relatively maximum and minimum elevation for the area. Now, we've talked about this at length in the other assignment as well. Be sure that you're being accurate. So for your area, you're not just going to round to the nearest index line that you find. You're actually going to provide what the actual maximum and minimum are. Now, if your location is tiny, your maximum might be the same if it's like your backyard and your backyard's not that big. That's okay. Just say that the average elevation in your area is whatever that value might be. That's okay. Again, remember documentation for the appendix. Sorry, excuse me. Next is geology. So we want to pull up that geologic map that we are using in class, that Texas pocket geology map, I believe is what it's called. And you want to find out what explanations are present. So remember we talked about in the review, explanation, rock unit, geologic feature, those are the same terms that I'm using interchangeably because it depends what map you pick up on what they'll be called. So that's what you want to do. Find the rock type and describe it a little bit about what it's composed of, where it comes from. Aerial extent is you guessing, or no, not guessing. You're going to use satellite images to determine to the best of your ability what type of vegetation is present in your park. So you want to include a satellite image of the area and then take your best guess on is it all woodlands, is it just grassland, which might be for your backyard. It just really depends on what's located with it. Now, in terms of availability to water, you're going to include the name and type of water source that is close to you. So you might not have, especially if it's your backyard or you're in the center of your apartment complex or a community area, there might not be a river running through there. That's okay. I just want you to provide the nearest water supply. So there might be a creek that's a couple of miles away. That's okay. Or if you maybe a kilometer away, half a kilometer, some of that nearest water supply that is somewhat maybe reaching your area is what I want you to look into. And the last piece of your mock study site is describing its urbanization area. So that could be, is it in the middle of a neighborhood? Is it right next to your house? Ensure that you're providing metric distances to help provide, because when you use vague terms like it's in close proximity to a rural area, that's good language and verbiage, but we want to ensure that you're also providing some context to that because everybody's proximity can be very different. That might be right beside, it might be that it's within a kilometer of it. So ensure that you're also providing some type of distance as a guideline or metric to figure out where that might be. Now, in terms of your agenda, so that's the first step you're going to go through is analyzing your mock study site. Day two, your goal is to propose a design of study. Now, of course, these might overlap because it depends on how much time you have on day one, but that's okay. It's just a rough layout of my expectations. So first day, mock study site. Second day, you're going to work through the design of study. Day three, you'll work through some scientific literature. And then last but least, you'll format and finalize your document. And that also is the availability to have me review that assignment beforehand. If you do want me to review it, I am going to ask that I get a request for a review no later than day three. Because then that gives me time to turn around because I don't want to be rushing in day four trying to meet your expectations because that's too hard for me. I want you to plan ahead, get as much as you can by the end of day three, get it to me, and then I can review it so that you can work on any revisions for day four. That concludes the first video of our series. The other three videos will overview each of these other items, so feel free to check them out. Good luck and reach out if you have any questions.